Captain Elia's heart had been alone for longer than he cared to count. The cold stars outside his ship's window seemed to stretch on forever, glittering pinpoints of light that mocked his solitude. Years ago, he had been part of a team of explorers sent to chart the far reaches of space, but one mission had gone horribly wrong. An accident, they said, and his crew had vanished. Elias had survived, but their absence left an emptiness that no new assignment could fill. Even now, piloting the Aurora, a research vessel designed for long-range exploration, he felt the weight of silence pressing against him. The hum of the ship's engines was the only company he had, and though the technology around him could maintain life, it could not fill the hollow of loneliness. His routine had grown mechanical. Every day he scanned sectors, recorded data, and maintained the ship's systems. Every night he stared at the stars, wondering if somewhere out there, someone or something might hear him. He told himself it was the duty of exploration that kept him going, but deep down, he admitted the truth. He longed for connection. Not just conversation, but a bond with beings who could understand, who could share in the wonders and dangers he experienced. Then the signal came. At first, Elias thought it was a technical glitch. The Aurora's sensors had picked up countless faint transmissions over the years, debris in space, echoes of distant stars, random bursts of energy, but this was different. The signal repeated with a pattern, almost melodic, subtle, and rhythmic. It felt alive. He leaned closer to the console, eyes narrowing at the fluctuating lights on the screen. It was faint, yes, but distinct. Someone or something was calling out. Curiosity stirred something in him that had been dormant for years. For the first time in a long while, he felt a spark of excitement. He plotted the signal's origin, a distant, uncharted planet tucked in the shadow of a binary star system. The readings suggested it could support life, but it had never been explored. Elias felt a thrill run through him, a mystery, a possibility. When he arrived in orbit, the planet was a vision of harsh beauty. Its surface was pale and icy, with jagged mountain ranges and frozen plains stretching beyond the horizon. Glimmering frost reflected the twin suns, creating an almost blinding brilliance. The signal's source was pinpointed to a crater on the northern ice fields, and as Elias prepared a landing pod, he felt a flicker of unease. There was no telling what awaited him on that frozen world. Touching down was rough. The surface shifted beneath him as the pod's landing thrusters fought the uneven terrain. Frost scraped along the hull, and the wind howled through cracks in the ice. Elias braced himself as the pod finally settled with a shudder. He activated the external scanners, and the readings made his heart skip a beat. Inside the crater, a small object was partially buried under the ice. As he approached on foot, he could make out the shape, a pod, sleek but damaged, its surface scarred by burns and fractures. The melodic signal was stronger now, almost pleading. Elias knelt and carefully brushed away the ice. Then he saw them. 4 figures lay huddled together inside the pod. They were humanoid but not human. Their skin shimmered with subtle opalescent tones that shifted in the dim light. Their hair glowed faintly, casting a soft radiance in the cramped pod. But it was their eyes that struck him most, large, expressive, filled with fear and hope at the same time. Elias pressed a hand to the pod's hatch and activated the manual release. With a hiss of escaping air, the hatch opened, revealing the 4 alien sisters fully. They moved slowly as if they had been weakened by cold and lack of oxygen, but their gaze immediately found his. "Please," a voice said, not aloud, but inside his mind. Elias staggered back, eyes wide, telepathy. They were speaking to him with thoughts, emotions flowing into his consciousness like a gentle wave. The voice was layered, 4 separate minds intertwining into one plea. "Save us, take us with you, we are alone." I don't know if I can help," he said aloud, even though they would hear his thoughts just as clearly. "You can," they replied in unison. "You are strong, you are human, you can save us." Yet the spark of connection he had longed for flared within him. He reached out cautiously and helped them step from the pod. Their movements were graceful but delicate, limbs thin yet surprisingly strong. "Are you all right?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. They nodded, the mental reply confirming their words. Lyra, the eldest, spoke directly to him, her mental voice clear and commanding. "We were fleeing our pursuers, our civilization destroyed. We have nowhere else to go." It was silent, but he knew the universe could be unforgiving. I can try to get you somewhere safe," he said. He wasn't sure how yet, but he would find a way. He always did. The sisters followed him to the Aurora, moving in coordinated silence, communicating with each other in mental whispers that Elias could barely grasp. Their technology was impressive. They analyzed the ship, interfacing with sensors and controls, but they lacked the hands-on experience Elias had. He realized quickly that their survival depended on him as much as his survival now depended on them. Inside the ship, the sisters' presence brought a warmth Elias had not felt in years. They were curious, polite, and intelligent, asking questions about Earth, humanity, and the stars. He answered as best he could, though he often spoke aloud simply to hear a human voice, to feel a reminder of who he was. The night passed in a blur of repairs, discussions, and cautious observation. Elias learned their names: Lyra, Selene, Astra, and Nova. Each had a distinct personality. Lyra was protective and logical, always planning 2 steps ahead. Selene was gentle, compassionate, and cautious. Astra was bold, curious, and full of energy, eager to explore everything the ship offered. Nova, the youngest, was quiet, thoughtful, and observant, absorbing the world with wide-eyed fascination. Despite their advanced minds, the sisters admitted their ship had been too damaged to continue. They relied on human technology now, and Elias found himself tinkering with circuits, engines, and navigation systems late into the artificial night. They watched and learned, but his human problem-solving, improvisation, and sheer stubbornness were the tools that could save them. By the time the first light of the twin suns crested the icy horizon, a bond had begun to form. It was subtle at first, a shared glance, a flicker of understanding, a moment of laughter as Elias accidentally spilled coolant over a control panel. But it was there, and it was powerful. Elias felt something he had long thought impossible in the emptiness of space: hope. He realized slowly that the signal had been more than a plea for help. It had been a call to him personally, a test to see if a human would answer when others could not. And he had. But even as he prepared the Aurora for departure, his sensors picked up faint blips in the distance. Small, fast-moving vessels scanning the planet. His stomach tightened. The sisters' pursuers were close, and time was running out. Lyra's voice entered his mind, calm but firm. "They are coming. We must leave now, or all will be lost." And for the first time in a long time, he felt truly alive, truly needed. As he activated the ship's engines and prepared for liftoff, he looked at the 4 alien sisters. Their eyes were filled with trust, and perhaps, for the first time, Elias saw a reflection of himself, not just the lonely human, but the capable, clever, brave survivor he had always been. "Hold on," he muttered aloud, more to himself than anyone else. "We're getting out of here together." The danger had not passed. They were still being hunted, but for the first time, Elias felt that they might survive. Not just survive, but perhaps thrive. And in that moment, as the ship rose toward the stars, he realized that sometimes the universe sent exactly what you needed, in forms you could never have imagined. 4 alien sisters, stranded and desperate, had called him, and he had answered. The stars awaited them, and for the first time in years, Elias did too. The Aurora shook as the icy wind from the planet's atmosphere whipped around it. Elias' heart gripped the controls tightly, his eyes scanning the instruments for any signs of danger. The 4 alien sisters sat across from him, their luminous eyes reflecting both fear and determination. Their small hands hovered over the console, assisting as much as they could, though Elias could feel the gap between their knowledge of technology and his own human problem-solving skills. Even with their intelligence, they had been stranded, and now survival depended on him. "Are they close?" Astra asked, her voice telepathic but tinged with concern. "Yes," Elias replied, keeping his tone steady. He didn't want to panic them. "I can see multiple vessels closing in on the scanners, small, fast ships. They won't give up." The alien fleet wasn't just an unknown threat. It was organized, persistent, and ruthless. His mind raced, searching for any advantage. The planet below was treacherous, full of jagged ice formations and seismic activity. If he could use the terrain to their benefit, they might escape. "Listen," he said, gesturing toward the holographic display. "We can't outrun them in open space. But if we fly low over the northern ice fields, we can use the terrain to hide. They'll have trouble tracking us there." They understood instinctively that in this moment, human improvisation was just as valuable as their telepathy or advanced knowledge. He guided the ship downward, skimming the icy plains with precise control. The wind whipped across the hull, causing the ship to groan, but Elias held steady. Below them, jagged spires of ice rose like frozen towers, shadows stretching under the twin suns. He could see cracks forming in the surface, evidence of constant seismic shifts. One wrong move and the ship could be trapped, or worse. Astra let out a soft gasp. "This place is alive. The ice moves, it shifts, it could crush us." But if we stay smart, it can also protect us. Elias, Nova whispered, her voice trembling. How do you know where to go? You are resourceful, unlike anyone we have ever known. The sisters watched in awe, realizing that even with their advanced minds, they could not have done this alone. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the hum of the ship and occasional bursts of telepathic communication. The sisters coordinated their mental abilities, creating brief disruptions in the pursuers' sensors, but it was Elia's clever maneuvers that gave them the upper hand. They had learned quickly to follow his lead, but it was clear that human creativity was the key to their survival. Finally, they reached a narrow canyon between two massive ice cliffs. Elias calculated quickly. It was risky, too tight for the alien ships to follow, but the walls of the canyon could collapse at any moment. This is it, he said aloud. Hold on. We could never have imagined escape like this. Beyond it lay a mysterious structure, ancient, enormous, and glowing faintly in the sunlight. He had no idea what it was, but the scanners indicated it could be a gateway of some kind, possibly an old teleportation device. Lyra spoke urgently. If we reach that structure, we might be able to escape completely. It could take us far from our pursuers. The structure could be their salvation, but it was untested, unknown. He looked at the sisters. Their eyes reflected hope and trust, and he realized that his decision now could determine their lives. All right, he said, determination hardening his voice. We're going there, together. The surface cracked beneath the ship, sending tremors that jolted the Aurora. Elias worked the controls with precise timing, adjusting thrusters and stabilizers to maintain balance. The sisters monitored the readings, warning him of weak ice patches and hidden crevices. Their telepathy allowed them to predict some dangers, but it was Elias' intuition that kept them alive. During a sudden tremor, a fissure opened directly in front of them. Elias pushed the thrusters to full power, lifting the ship just in time. The ice groaned and cracked behind them, sending chunks tumbling into the void. The sisters gasped collectively, and Nova whispered, "You saved us again, just like before." Survival was temporary until they reached the gateway. He could feel the pursuers closing in again, their dark silhouettes creeping across the horizon. Every second mattered. Finally, the structure loomed ahead, massive and imposing. It was made of a smooth, metallic material that glimmered in the sunlight, covered in strange markings and symbols. Elias could see the faint pulse of energy running along its surface like a heartbeat. The sisters' telepathy flared with excitement and caution. Lyra spoke, her mental voice steady. This is our chance, but it will require precise operation. Only a human can input the correct sequence to activate it fully. Are you prepared? He had faced danger before, yes, but this was new. The alien technology was far beyond anything he had seen, and the lives of 4 sentient beings depended on him. Yet a sense of calm washed over him. He had faced uncertainty, death, and isolation before, and he had always found a way. I'm ready, he said aloud. Let's do this. Each successful input sent a pulse of energy through the structure, making it hum with power. The alien pursuers appeared on the horizon, their vessels firing intermittently, but the structure's energy field acted as a shield. The Aurora's hull vibrated as the gateway responded to Elia's commands. Sweat dripped down his forehead, his hands shaking, but he pressed on. The sisters' encouragement flowed into his mind, bolstering his confidence. Finally, with a final sequence of commands, the gateway activated fully. A shimmering portal opened, radiating light and energy. Elias exhaled, feeling a mixture of relief and exhilaration. They had made it. Lyra, Selene, Astra, and Nova stepped forward, their expressions filled with awe. You have saved us, all of us, Lyra said, her voice a blend of gratitude and reverence. Elias felt a warmth he had not experienced in years. The loneliness that had clung to him like a shadow began to lift. He had faced the unknown, the impossible, and the dangerous, and he had prevailed, not just for himself, but for others who trusted him with their lives. Let's go, he said, smiling. Time to see where this takes us. Elias leaned back in his chair, exhaustion and relief washing over him. He glanced at the sisters, who now looked at him not just as a rescuer, but as a companion. For the first time in years, he felt connection, purpose, and hope. The universe, vast and cold, had brought him exactly what he needed. Not only survival, but family. And as the Aurora lifted toward the stars once more, Elias knew that the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, wonders, and dangers. But for the first time in his long years of solitude, he would not face them alone. Together, human and alien, they would explore the unknown. and together they would survive. The stars streaked past the viewport as the Aurora sailed into deep space. Ilya's heart sat in the captain's chair, eyes scanning the readings, alert for any sign of the alien fleet that had chased them from the icy planet. The four sisters sat nearby, each of them adjusting to the sudden change from cold, frozen danger to the vast emptiness of the cosmos. Though the gateway had transported them safely, their pursuers were still somewhere out there, relentless and unyielding. "This isn't over, is it?" Astra asked quietly, her voice carrying both anxiety and determination. "No," Elias admitted, gripping the control panel. "They're persistent. They'll track us as far as they can, but we can outthink them. We have your guidance, and you have the advantage of human ingenuity. Perhaps together we can turn the odds in our favor." Predictable enemies might underestimate a lone human captain navigating a ship in unconventional ways. He adjusted the ship's course, weaving through an asteroid belt he had noted on the star charts. The asteroid field was dense, but Elias knew that humans could think creatively under pressure. He had survived years alone by relying on observation, intuition, and quick decision-making. The alien sisters' telepathy complemented this perfectly. They sensed danger before it arrived, allowing him to anticipate movements that no human senses alone could detect. As they entered the asteroid belt, the first of the alien pursuers appeared. Small, dark ships moved in formation, scanning for signs of the Aurora. Elias' heart beat faster, but he remained calm. He knew that one mistake could mean capture or worse. "Ready?" he asked the sisters, who nodded collectively. "Follow my lead," he said. The Aurora twisted sharply, dodging a massive asteroid that appeared from the shadows. The ship's engines groaned under the sudden maneuver, but it held. Astra gasped, her eyes wide. "How do you know where to go?" "That asteroid came out of nowhere." He deliberately flew close to larger asteroids, forcing the enemy to slow down or risk collision. Selene, usually cautious, spoke into his mind. "Your strategy works. They cannot follow without risking themselves." Lyra's telepathy allowed them to detect subtle changes in the pursuers' positions, giving Elias the edge he needed. Human intuition combined with alien perception created a synergy that neither species could achieve alone. Finally, Elias spotted an opportunity. A narrow passage between two massive asteroids would allow them to slip through undetected, but it required precise timing. The Aurora had to accelerate, twist, and roll simultaneously, a maneuver that would be deadly if miscalculated. "Hold on tight," Elias said aloud, gripping the controls. "This is going to be tricky." He twisted the ship, engines flaring, and for a moment it seemed as if the entire universe was against them. The Aurora squeezed through the passage, scraping past jagged asteroid edges by mere meters. Astra let out a relieved laugh, while Nova whispered in awe, "Incredible, I've never seen anything like it. We would never have survived this without you. If we can hide temporarily, we can plan our next move." The engines roared as the ship touched down, skidding slightly over loose rocks. The sisters' hands hovered over the console, ready to assist, but Elias handled it with steady control. The Aurora came to a stop and he exhaled. "Safe for now," he said. The sisters' collective relief washed over him, and he allowed himself a small smile. Lyra approached him, her voice soft but firm. "This is temporary. We cannot stay long. They will find us if we linger too much." They marveled at human problem-solving, watching Elias use tools and improvise solutions to fix minor issues with the ship. It was a reminder that, despite their advanced telepathy and intelligence, humans had a unique ability to adapt under pressure. Nova leaned over a console, her eyes wide. "Your hands, they move so quickly, so confidently. You know what to do even when it seems impossible." Selene's voice carried a mix of awe and melancholy. "The universe is so large and yet so filled with threats. How do humans face it alone? Your courage, your mind, it gives us hope." The alien pursuers had tracked them, closing in faster than expected. Elia's heart pounded as he calculated options. They could try to outrun them again, but open space would favor the pursuers' speed and numbers. They needed a plan, a human plan. "Listen to me," Elias said, his mind racing. "We can't outrun them, but we can outthink them. I have an idea, but it will be risky." "We trust you, Elias. Lead us." "You're amazing. We would never have thought to use the landscape like this." Their telepathy allowed them to sense subtle shifts in the pursuers' attention, giving Elias the information he needed to anticipate their movements. Finally, after careful maneuvering, they emerged into open space at the far edge of the moon. far enough from immediate danger to breathe. Elias allowed himself a brief moment of relief, knowing that they had survived another day. Lyra approached him again, her expression filled with quiet admiration. "You are extraordinary, Elias Hart. Your mind, your courage, your intuition, they have saved us multiple times. We owe our lives to you. And together we'll face whatever comes next." Yet for the first time in years, Elias did not feel alone. He had companions, 4 beings who trusted him, who believed in him, and who inspired him to be better. And as the stars stretched infinitely before them, Elias knew one truth above all. Humans were capable of remarkable things, especially when faced with impossible odds. Together they would survive. Together they would triumph. The Aurora glided silently through the dark void of space, leaving behind the icy moon and the alien fleet that had pursued them. Elia's heart had grown accustomed to tension and uncertainty, but the weight of responsibility felt heavier than ever. 4 alien sisters depended on him, and their safety now rested entirely on his decisions. The distant stars sparkled like frozen fire, indifferent to the lives entangled in the Aurora's journey. Ahead on the star charts was the next waypoint, a massive ancient structure of unknown origin. The readings suggested it was more than a station or a simple satellite. Its surface emitted a soft, pulsing energy, like a heartbeat in the void. The sisters called it the Gateway. Lyra's telepathy hinted that this was their only chance to escape completely from their pursuers, yet nothing about the structure was familiar, and its technology was far beyond Elia's experience. Seleni's thoughts brushed against his mind. "We do not know what this structure will do. It may save us, or end us. But doing nothing isn't an option. We move forward or we lose everything." Lyra reached out, her hand touching his shoulder, though it was more for reassurance than guidance. "You are our only chance, Elias. We trust you completely." The alien technology before him required a human mind to operate it fully. The sisters could guide him, sense its energy, and anticipate certain outcomes, but the calculations, the timing, and the final decision had to come from him. Elias studied the control panel outside the gateway. The symbols were complex, flowing in ways that seemed alive, shifting subtly as he looked at them. Each panel contained nested patterns, sequences that intertwined logic and energy, technology and art. One wrong input could trigger a cascade of failure, or worse, endanger the sisters' lives. Nova, the youngest, floated near him, her glowing hair casting soft light. "You can do this, Elias. We believe in you." Her words, simple but profound, reminded him that this was more than a task. It was a responsibility born of connection, trust, and hope. Taking a deep breath, he began. His hands hovered over the controls, steady but ready to react. The sisters guided him with their thoughts, describing the flow of energy, the timing of pulses, and the subtle changes in the gateway's state. Elias listened, watched, and adapted. Human intuition merged with alien perception, creating a collaboration that no single species could achieve alone. Hours passed. The sisters' telepathy and his skill kept them in sync, but the gateway's mechanisms were complex and delicate. At times, Elias had to make split-second decisions, choosing between 2 equally uncertain outcomes. The sisters' encouragement filled his mind. Lyra's calm certainty, Seleni's gentle reassurance, Astra's bold confidence, Nova's quiet faith. Their combined trust fueled his determination. At one point, a pulse of energy surged from the gateway, and alarms blared on the Aurora's sensors. The structure reacted to their presence, testing them. Elia's hands moved instinctively, adjusting inputs, rerouting energy, and stabilizing fields. The sisters' minds guided him, but the final choices were his. "Steady, steady, you are correct," Lyra's mental voice reassured him. Minutes felt like hours. The alien pursuers were still out there, scanning the void, but the gateway's energy shield concealed them. Elias worked tirelessly, inputting sequences, tracing patterns, and solving problems that seemed impossible. Sweat ran down his forehead, yet he did not stop. Every correct decision brought them closer to freedom. Every misstep could mean disaster. Finally, the central console pulsed brightly, signaling the final sequence. The gateway's energy began to stabilize, forming a shimmering portal of light. Elias felt a surge of relief, but also hesitation. Beyond the portal was the unknown. They could be transported to safety or to something entirely unpredictable. The sisters' telepathy conveyed trust, hope, and a quiet plea. "Lead us, human. Choose for us." The sisters stepped forward, their expressions glowing with wonder and trust. Lyra's hand reached out, brushing against his arm. "You have done it. We are ready." The energy shield around the gateway absorbed the attacks, scattering them harmlessly into sparks of light. Elias guided the Aurora through the portal, the ship shuddering as energy surrounded them. The sisters held onto him, their telepathy a steady pulse of calm and reassurance. The transition was instantaneous and disorienting. Stars blurred into streaks of light, and for a moment it felt as if the universe itself had bent around them. Then suddenly they emerged into a new space, vast, open, and empty. The alien pursuers were gone. The gateway pulsed behind them, marking the end of their immediate danger. The sisters exhaled collectively, a wave of relief and joy washing through their telepathic connection. "You saved us," Lyra said, her mind full of gratitude. "We would not have survived without your courage, your mind, your heart." He had saved them, but in the process they had saved him from his own loneliness. Nova floated near him, her young voice echoing in his mind. "You are brave, you are clever, and you care for us. That makes you extraordinary." He had companions who trusted him, who needed him, and who inspired him to be more than just a survivor. Astra's playful tone broke the quiet. "Now what, Captain? Where do we go from here?" Human and alien, side by side. Even as the stars stretched endlessly before them, the sense of possibility energized Elias. The universe was vast and unpredictable, but he had learned something essential. Courage, ingenuity, and heart could overcome even the most impossible odds. Humans were remarkable not just because of strength or skill, but because of their ability to act, to think, and to care when it mattered most. And as the Aurora moved forward, carrying 4 alien sisters who had once been lost, Elia's heart knew that the journey ahead would test them all. There would be challenges, threats, and mysteries that stretched far beyond their understanding. But whatever came next, they would face it together. Human and alien, united by trust, courage, and hope. The stars were endless, and their adventure had only just begun. The Aurora sailed through the endless stretch of space. The alien sisters gathered around the control panels, their luminous eyes reflecting both relief and cautious anticipation. The gateway had delivered them safely, but Elia's heart knew better than to believe their trials were over. Somewhere in the void, the alien pursuers lingered, hunting for the 4 sisters they sought to capture. Survival required not only skill, but ingenuity, the kind of human ingenuity that had carried him through impossible situations before. "We need a plan," Lyra said, her telepathic voice steady and calm. "We cannot rely on chance alone. They will not stop until they find us." Seleni's mind brushed against his, soft and concerned. "You do not need to shoulder this alone. We can help." He identified a nearby nebula, a dense cloud of gas and dust that could obscure their presence and confuse sensors. It was risky. The Aurora was designed for speed and exploration, not stealth in such conditions. But the alien fleet, overconfident and predictable, might be vulnerable if he used the nebula cleverly. "Here's what we'll do," he said aloud, mapping the plan on the holographic display. "We enter the nebula, hide our energy signature, and use the turbulence to mask our movement. Then we set up decoys to distract any ships that come close. Humans have a knack for solving problems no one else can." Colors swirled in patterns that made the ship feel as if it were moving through liquid light. The alien pursuers were quick to follow, their ships firing intermittently, scanning for energy signatures. Elias anticipated their moves, weaving the Aurora in sudden twists and sharp accelerations. The gas and dust bent light and disrupted sensors, giving him the advantage. Several enemy vessels collided with unseen pockets of dense gas, forcing them to slow or risk damage. Seleni's voice was full of awe. "Your mind, it sees what others cannot. You create paths through danger that seem impossible. We find solutions when there seems to be none." The sisters watched in amazement as the pursuers followed false trails, their minds working in tandem with his strategy to create openings for escape. Hours passed, tense and relentless, as they navigated the swirling gas clouds. Elia's hands never left the controls, his mind calculating every possibility. Lyra's mental guidance, Seleni's caution, Astra's bold intuition, and Nova's sharp observation complemented his human problem-solving perfectly. Together, they were a team of unmatched skill and unity. At one point, a massive surge of energy struck the ship. The Aurora lurched violently, alarms blaring, systems flickering. Elias acted instantly, rerouting power to the engines, stabilizing the shields, and adjusting trajectory. The sisters sensed the danger before it fully arrived, warning him of hidden pockets of ionized gas. Human ingenuity combined with alien perception saved them once again. Nova's voice trembled with admiration. "You are incredible. I cannot believe how calm you are under such pressure." The decoys had worked perfectly. The alien fleet was scattered, confused, and partially damaged. Elias knew they had bought themselves precious time, perhaps enough to find a more permanent solution. Lyra's mental voice carried relief. "Your plan worked. We are safe for now." Safety was never permanent in space, and the universe was vast and unpredictable. Yet for the first time in years, he felt a sense of confidence, not arrogance, but trust in his own abilities and in the companions who relied on him. "We need a destination," he said. "Somewhere we can regroup, repair, and plan our next move." "Anywhere you lead, we will follow. We'll make camp there, repair the ship, and plan our next steps carefully." The sisters learned more about human ingenuity, courage, and resilience, while Elias found himself inspired by their intelligence, empathy, and perspective on the universe. Selene floated near him, her voice gentle. "You have saved not only our lives, Elias, but our hope. Without you, we would have been lost. You've given me hope, too. I've been alone so long, I forgot what it felt like to trust, to care for others, to have companions who depend on me. Your courage, your creativity, your heart, it surpasses even what we imagined possible." Together, they found a flat plain surrounded by natural cliffs, providing shelter from potential threats. The landing was smooth, thanks to Elia's careful calculations and the sisters' guidance. The engines shut down and the silence of the planet greeted them. Elias allowed himself a moment of relief. They were safe for now, and they had survived impossible odds together. The sisters gathered on the observation deck, gazing at the stars beyond. Nova's voice was soft, full of wonder. "We were alone and the universe seemed endless and cruel, but you changed everything. We survived together, that's what matters, and when we trust each other, there's nothing we cannot overcome. You have shown that courage, ingenuity, and heart can save not only lives, but hope itself." Elias felt a bond he had longed for during his years of solitude, a connection that went beyond words, beyond species, beyond any danger the universe could throw at them. As night fell over the planet, Elias and the sisters prepared for rest, knowing that tomorrow would bring new challenges, discoveries, and perhaps even adventure. They had survived, yes, but they had also grown, learned, and discovered the strength that comes from unity. Human ingenuity, bravery, and compassion had carried them through impossible odds. The sisters' intelligence, empathy, and guidance had complemented him perfectly, forming a team capable of facing anything. Elias looked out at the stars, feeling a sense of wonder and anticipation. The universe was vast, unpredictable, and full of danger, but it was also full of possibility. With the sisters at his side, he knew they could face anything together. Human and alien, united by trust, courage, and hope. He allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. They had survived. They had triumphed. And the journey ahead, though uncertain, was theirs to explore together. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a canvas of infinite potential. And for the first time in years, Elia's heart did not feel alone. He had companions, allies, and a new purpose. The four alien sisters had once begged for salvation, and now, through human courage, ingenuity, and heart, they had found it. Elias smiled, knowing that no matter what lay ahead, they would face it as one. The universe was vast, but together they were stronger than any threat, clever than any trap, and braver than any danger. Humanity had proven itself once more, not through weapons, not through technology alone, but through courage, intelligence, and compassion. And as the aurora rested on the quiet planet, the stars above twinkling like distant promises, Elia's heart knew that this was only the beginning.